Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of the My Generation podcast. This one is another special, so it's my birthday today as of the day of as of the day of this going out, it is my birthday. And so for this special, I wanted to answer some of your questions so you get to know me a little better, promote a band that's going to be coming up on the podcast, talk about a friend's project that's gone really well. It's quite a loose episode, this one. It's been 6 months of the podcast almost, and it's my birthday, and it's been quite a year. I'm going to be turning 21 as of today. And being 20, what a roller coaster it's been. It's been an absolutely fantastic year overall. I've been studying at university, doing film production, got to make loads of really cool projects whilst I've been 20. I've been working in radio now for a while. Most of my proper radio work has been at the age of 20, and the growth I've seen doing that has been absolutely insane. It's been just so much fun. What a year for work and friends and everything. It's just been just a quality year. And being in Kent as well all the time. I haven't moved away from university or anything. I've just been living here, enjoying the time. I'm going to just sort of drop some stories in as we go throughout the episode, just some highlights over the past 12 months and things I've done in my personal life. But I'm also just going to throw over to some questions. And the first question I got when I punted on Instagram and Facebook was a simple question. How's doing the podcast been going so far? Any big surprises from the experience? And I'll go into a little bit more detail about this in the New Year's anniversary, the New Year podcast, because we do a best of for the beginning of the My Generation podcast. But to answer your question in brief here, the big surprises have been the level of detail people have been willing to go into with their stories, the openness of people in what they share has just been a big surprise to me. I expected great conversations, yeah, but the depth that people have been able to share in, such as Devon, who came on the podcast, Joe, Connor, even Sammy as well. There's just been some really deep personal stories. That's been the surprise, the openness on a microphone. And my setup for this podcast is really simple, because I use a mix at the minute, at least, of a Zoom H4n handy recorder and a H6, and so you just put the mic down and it records for both people, and it's almost like the mic disappears because there's not a mic in front of you. My setup's really simple for this podcast. Just plonk the mic down, here we go. And I think that actually helps put people at ease who don't necessarily do podcasts. So I would love to get to the stage where I've got multiple microphones for each person, but I think at this stage I'm really happy with the setup I've currently got, because it actually allows me to do what I want to do. It allows the people who are coming in to feel at ease, and I think that really works for the show. So that was another big surprise. And how's it been going so far in general? I've been absolutely adoring it. It's just been the most fun thing. It's a weekly routine. We get out these episodes, I get to share lots of stories, and I get lots of feedback in real life. I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting real life feedback. I've had people approach me who I know in my social circles, and we've discussed topics on the podcast. That was a big surprise. Next question was, what are your hobbies? And I think this is an interesting one, because I'm sort of in and around lots of little different hobbies. So I'm quite big on my photography. I do enjoy that. I enjoy Instagram photography. I mentioned that in the episode with Emma, episode number 7 of the podcast. Also my episode that I did on photography, my photography journey, that's episode 25. Also mentioned in some of the other later questions, I'm a Lego collector. And as a result, collecting Lego is just a great, fun hobby for me. I really enjoy it. And I've been doing it for years. I build my own things, my own custom models, as well as building and collecting actual sets. That's really good fun. And that's, I can spend hours doing that, and I don't notice the time go by. It absolutely flies. It really focuses me. My theatre writing is also something I would consider to be a very good hobby of mine. I do it quite frequently, or as frequently as I'd like to, because I'm also doing writing for university and work projects as well. So I think theatre tends to be one that's sort of falling into more hobbyist at the minute, if you could say that. And also just actually listening to podcasts and audio speakers. Myself, I've been enjoying listening to quite a lot of stuff on BBC Sounds. I'm now becoming like really, really big on listening to BBC Introducing for Radio 1, the Sunday evening show. I absolutely love it. I just had an episode that's focused on the looping, so tracks, how they build up and you can loop them, and that was absolutely fascinating. If that's still on BBC Sounds, it's probably not by now, but you can actually learn quite a lot from that show, and I know nothing about the actual process of creating music, so that was very, very insightful for me. And next, actually tying in quite nicely to that, is what's your favourite musician or band of all time? And of all time, that's such a difficult question. I can remember the earliest bands that I listened to, sort of within the genre of rock, which is kind of where I come from in terms of music, sort of mid-2000s rock, and it was Linkin Park, it was Disturbed, it was Breaking Benjamin, and Breaking Benjamin's one I'd consider a big one now, as a one that has stuck with me, that still produce high-quality music. Also Starset, but I'm getting quite into indie bands like Yellow Days. The lead singer for that's voice is absolutely eclectic. It's really beautiful and mature and rough on the edges. I'm starting to find out about older bands like Thin Lizzy, which some people will be like, hey, how did you not know about Thin Lizzy? But I only recently discovered them, which is terrible of me. But if you don't know Thin Lizzy, you should definitely listen to some of their work. I've been weirdly listening to a lot more Elvis Presley than I ever have before. But I could go into so much about music. Me and Connor Jenkins, we went over music in a lot of detail in episode 15 of the podcast, where we did the power of music. That was still one of my favourite episodes because it's like an hour and 40 minutes. You've just got music for days in that episode. Next question. What is your favourite camera and lens? So the cameras that I have at the minute, I have a CNC Motomarine 35. It's a 35mm film camera that goes underwater. Absolutely adore that. I love my Canon 60D as well, and I think if I have to pick in terms of versatility and the image style that I love using my Nifty 50. It's a 50mm prime lens with the Canon 60D. That is my big best setup. I love that. Canon 60D, 50mm prime. It just gets that nice cinematic look. You get a soft background, 1.8 aperture. It's really bright, vibrant image. Most of my photography on my Instagram, I try to take in that. So I just like how it looks, the softness of it, especially for portraits. It's just beautiful. I've used it on some promo video work that I did a few years ago. I've now sort of upgraded in cameras. I tend to work with camera operators rather than being one myself now. But when I was also the camera operator too, I used the 60D with the 50mm prime lens, and I just got so much good work out of that. The next camera, I love this question. First camera I ever had, and I've got a really fun answer for that, because I used to do Lego animation back when I was sort of 8 to 12 years old. First Lego animation that I did was with a Logitech webcam, which we cable tied to some Lego pieces that we cut holes in so that I could animate and actually put it onto base plates, and it would stay, so when sets moved around it didn't sort of move with it, and it actually stabilized my shots. It was really, really funky for an 8-year-old to be doing this, and my dad helped me sort of make all that work, and that was the first camera. I've actually still got it. It still sits in my room, so when I'm sort of going through all my camera gear, I always look in and be like, that's where all this begun, and I think that's really cool. Next question. Any films that you are looking forward to? Okay, this is coming out on my birthday, so I'm still looking forward to this movie because it's still not come to the UK. But it is The Lighthouse, starring Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson. It looks amazing. The trailers for it have completely drawn me in. It looks like such a fun movie. It looks dark but comedic. It's an A24 movie. Robert Pattinson's acting career is absolutely flying at the moment, compared to like the reception that he got from some of his earlier movies, and what surrounds that. He's burrowed into the indie sort of market with movies, and he was a quality actor in his previous stuff, but the writing is really suiting what he's doing now, is the best way to put it. And it looks like this is going to be the absolute culmination of it. And the reviews from America that have already come out have been amazing. I kind of thought that was going to happen even before I knew that it was coming out in America. I thought the reviews would be good, and it looks like they have been. So I'm just so excited for it. I don't want to hype it too much because then it might not meet my expectations, but that's the movie for me. And tying in with my Lego collecting, as I mentioned earlier, my favourite set that I own. I've got to admit, from the process of building it, there are only two sets that are sort of sticking out as two favourites, and I'm either looking at the UCS Slave 1 from 2015 or Destiny's Bounty from the Lego Ninjago movie. Both of those sets, amazing value for money. You get a great price per piece on what you've got. You get an incredibly dense, complex build that's very, very presentable. Similar also with the NASA Saturn V, which I'd also put up there. They all are very mature builds, but are all also very unique. They're big, they look nice on display, and I just love how all of them look. All of them, I would... If you're not massive in collecting Lego, I say especially that NASA Saturn V, if you're big on rockets and space exploration, from afar it doesn't even look like a Lego set with how well it's covered up. But yeah, that sums up the questions that I got on Instagram and Facebook. Thank you all for sending those in. It was fun to answer some of them, for you guys to get to know me a little better with some of what I do away from the podcast. But yeah, this year's been an incredible one, and now rolling around to my birthday, I can sort of reflect on it and where I was this time last year. I'd sort of just started university. I was quite new to producing. I think in terms of work, my actual producing work has got better. The way I work with people and get things done. I'm a lot more efficient now, juggling a lot more projects, and trying to balance free, social and work time is definitely improved from this time last year. Still working on that, actually, as one of my big things going into the next year. I'd like to get that balance even more right. I think the free time needs to come up a little bit more so that I've got some more recreational and relaxing time to focus on personal jobs and hobbies, because I don't actually get enough time for my hobbies as much as I'd like at the moment, despite how amazing all the work I'm doing is. So it's a catch-22 here, but it's been an amazing year. I've done promo video work, I've done narrative filmmaking, documentary filmmaking by the time you've heard this. I've worked on radio dramas, obviously talk radio as well. There have been loads of things made, and also a theatre piece, a full-length theatre piece that went on in March, which was incredible. That was an experience in of itself. I should probably dedicate an entire episode to that, to be honest, because that was a 60-minute play, and the actual process of creating that was really, really interesting, and I'd definitely like to go into more detail. So if it's something you want to hear, then definitely let me know. So now I want to also keep the sounds going on this show, so I want to vary up what we're listening to, and there's a few things coming up in the new year that I want to punt for here. And one of them is a local Kent band called Renegade. They're from Whitstable, and they have a new single out. It's called Down. It came out on the 5th of November, and we're getting them on the podcast in the new year to talk. We're getting all 4 band members in, but I thought we'd play the song Down here for you now, so you can get a little taste of who they are, what they do, and you can tune in to what they do and listen to that episode having heard their song. So here is Down by Renegade.
Such a
What an energetic song. I love it. I can't wait to talk to them in more detail about the process of making that song and all the other musical work that they do. But I also wanted to promote Stephen Brown. He's a champion of the podcast. He's a good friend of mine, works in radio. He made a radio drama for Halloween, a horror-themed radio drama. And you can listen to it. It's on Spotify and iTunes as well. And if you want to listen to that, you can follow him. And I'm going to play a little teaser for you here and then put the link at the top of the description. So if you want to listen, you can. But here is the horror for Stephen Brown's audio drama that he was the producer of.
My vision is doubling. My throat's numb. I don't remember calling him. I don't remember coming outside. But here I find myself, tightly gripping the frame of the front door, the chill night air drawing black clouds over the drive, and Vincent strolling up to us. He's wearing a mask. It's aged yellow and covered in flecks of blood. He looks like he fell from the depths of a nightmare.
My good friend Stephen, his radio drama is such an amazing listen. Please do go and check it out. Now, sort of reflecting on the year of 2019 and some of the stuff I've done, just in the last couple of months, tail end of the year, I've been involved in tons and tons of film projects, and it's been absolutely amazing fun to be a part of. I've been the director of a couple, I've edited, done camera and sound work, sort of a little bit of absolutely everything. And I'm in the new year, I hope to share some of the stories in more detail as to what I've been doing this year, because I've just been on an absolute adventure over the month of November and December, just putting together so much content and thoroughly enjoying making it alongside the podcast. Also, one of my good friends, Sammy Bacon, he'll be on the podcast in the new year. He's going to be talking to me about some of his favourite albums, and Sammy is a keen enthusiast of music, and one new sort of thing we'll be adding to the podcast in the new year that I just want to give a little teaser of now, because we're sharing a few new voices here on the podcast. From about March 2019 onwards, so basically after Sammy's episode, every single episode from there outwards will be including a 1-minute album or song review from Sammy Bacon. Just a quick 1-minute chat about a music artist that you should be checking out that he recommends. And here we're going to put the first one to tease for you. Here's what Sammy has to say this week.
What's going on, everybody? Sammy Bacon here to give you another album recommendation. This week it's Sons of Kemet, Your Queen is a Reptile. Sons of Kemet are a avant jazz band from the UK who just make this very primal and exhilarating jazz. Sons of Kemet instrumentally consists of 2 drummers, a trombone, a tuba player rather, and a saxophone. Saxophonist Shabaka Hutchins is a really interesting guy to check out. He's in loads of bands, like The Comet Is Coming, and Sons of Kemet. Your Queen is a Reptile is named, all the songs are named after influential women throughout history, and the album's about recognising women's voice in society. Finally, it is such an exhilarating listen to. It's amazing. One of the best jazz albums I've ever heard. I highly recommend it. Sons of Kemet, Your Queen is a Reptile.
And there'll be plenty more of those coming from March 2019 on this very podcast onwards. I'd just like to thank you all so much for listening to my birthday episode. It's thoroughly enjoyed. I'm just so thrilled with what happened within 2019. It's been an absolutely incredible, sort of life-changing year for me. So much has happened, but overall this has been such an incredible experience, and I just hope to carry that forward into the new year with the momentum that we've got here on the podcast. I've already been throughout December recording some of the early episodes for January and February 2020, and thoroughly enjoying the direction that the My Generation podcast is taking in the new year. Please do let me know what you think in the comments below and what you'd like to see. For the new year, we've got so many artists that we're going to be talking to. We're going to be talking to theatre actors, we're going to be talking to photographers, filmmakers, a novel writer, a second one in the new year. We spoke to, obviously, George on the podcast. We're going to be getting Louis on as well, who's going to be talking about his own novel writing process, which we discussed is a little bit different as well. A big push for artists at the start of the new year. But if you want to get in touch with the Facebook page to get on the show potentially, or feature a comment on the show, you definitely can. And I know this podcast is going to be a little on the short side, but I hope I've given you some nice information. You get to know me a little bit better within this episode. And thank you all very much for listening. We'll be tuning in next week, where we'll be hearing from Joel. He's our local Kent blacksmith. And after that, the Christmas special of the podcast, which I just got back from recording today. That was really, really good fun. Really excited to share that with you. I've sort of been filming this birthday episode in segments just over the months of November and December. Not really knowing what to say now that I'm turning 21, but that is the case. Such is life. Thank you all very much for listening. Looking forward to hearing from you again on the next week of the next episode of the My Generation podcast.